If you thought the Brown quarterback competition was a genuine race, buckle up, because Joe Flacco just changed the entire story. And it's not pretty. On a recent episode of his podcast, Flacco laid it bare. Shedeur Sanders isn't getting the reps he deserves. Despite official claims of open competition, Jimmy Haslam admitted he never wanted Sanders on the roster in the first place. Now, Flacco's own comments confirm that the script, written long before camp, has more to do with political favoritism than performance. If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed. Flacco's podcast bombshell. Flacco said himself, the reps aren't even close to fair. Dillon Gabriel, the supposed backup, has been sucks up the majority of first-team drills. Flacco is often dressed in for scripted series. But Sanders? He gets scraps, third-string reps, scout team snaps. It's a rigged game, and everyone knew it, except Sanders. So when Haslam publicly admitted he never wanted Sanders from the start, everything flipped. It wasn't just prejudice. It was premeditated exclusion. Flacco's tone wasn't malicious. It was matter of fact. It's not about who's best, he said. It's about who the bosses want. That line alone speaks volumes about where decision-making happens in Cleveland. Hidden agenda. A QB contest in name only. Let's be crystal clear. When a head coach says competition is open, but one player still clearly isn't getting reps, something's wrong. Sanders might be the most accurate thrower in camp. He might lead every QB in efficiency and decision-making. But none of that matters if the ownership engineered this outcome in advance. Gabriel is deep in the playbook, getting first-team looks Sanders never sees. Flacco, the safe fallback. Sanders, the outsider. Anyone watching camp footage could spot it. Gabriel running scripted drives, while Sanders runs twos and scout team drills. But the front office called it development. Now Flacco calls it what it is. Favoritism masked as fairness. Haslam's confession changed everything. Jimmy Haslam has a known track record of quarterback interruptions. He shifts coaches, signs big names, and tries to play football GM without doing the work. Now he says he never wanted Sanders? That admission shredded the facade of open competition. If the owner himself says he'd rather take another quarterback over Sanders, it changes everything. The players hear it. The staff hears it. And more importantly, Sanders hears it too. It's one thing to be under veteran QB's shadow. It's another to be under the owner's. Now, what felt like a fair fighting chance is revealed as a prestige performance. Few reps, big consequences. The NFL only grants so many reps in practice. There's zero room for fair experimentation. If Gabriel gets most first-team reps, Flacco gets scripted reps. Sanders gets the developmental scraps. That's not a competition. It's a show. What's worse, players are talking. Widely respected names in that facility whispered. It's disrespectful how little Sanders gets to show what he can do. One assistant coach allegedly said he could carry this offense, but no one's giving him a playbook. Think about that. A rookie quarterback out here executing precise throws and leadership demands every coach wants, and still not getting the tools to compete. Why Gabriel? Why Flacco? Gabriel earned trust early. He's prepped. He's polished. He doesn't disrupt the hierarchy. Flacco has experience, a large contract, and a clean narrative. But those credentials don't outplay raw talent, unless the system is set to protect them. This is where Flacco's admission matters most. He isn't just backing Sanders. He's exposing that the system saved Gabriel. The optics of Gabriel versus Sanders might make Gabriel look like the safe hand. But the reality is, 7 weeks in, Gabriel still hasn't outperformed Sanders in measurable drills or team-led confidence. Sanders getting iced out of team content and culture. If you weren't convinced before, consider this. Sanders isn't in team hype videos. He's not in promotional segments. He's barely visible during team build finger sessions. Yet Gabriel and Flacco get the spotlight. Front-facing visions of the team matter. When the player you're hiding behind the curtain continuously outpaces your depth chart feature, something's wrong. The narrative is clear. Keep Sanders quiet. Keep Gabriel in view. It's all part of facade now. Open competition, that's anything but. The real issue, control over merit. This is not just a bad breakdown in competition. This is ownership forcing a narrative. It's a reveal that the competition was never over performance. It was over who controls perception. If Flacco's podcast statement stings, it's because he's not just calling out favoritism. He's calling out management by filter. Performance filtered through politics. Reps allocated based on suspicion. Promotions withheld by bias. That's not development. That's obstruction. Sanders versus dysfunction itself. Now, picture this. A quarterback who not only outplays his competition, but also does it with poise, accuracy, leadership, and calm. A rookie with no drama, zero excuses, and a relentless want to win. That's Sanders. And yet the organization keeps him irrelevant. Why? Because the Browns' dysfunction is deeper than bad draft picks. It's built into power moves. It's institutional micromanagement. It's poor players moving up because they're not threatening. Meanwhile, the best playmaker in the room sits in the shadows. That doesn't make sense unless you see the sabotage for what it is. Lessons beyond Cleveland. Flacco's words aren't just about one team. They shine a spotlight on an NFL disease. Powerful names overriding merit. When ownership enters quarterback rooms with bias, the entire team shifts direction. It's not only the player who suffers, it's trust. Everything fractures. Sanders might still become the QB1 somewhere. And if he does, Cleveland won't just look foolish. They'll look willfully negligent. They had a shot at leadership, accuracy, poise, and choked. Flacco saying on a podcast? That's rare accountability in a league full of cover UPS. And it changes the rules moving forward. Other players will hear that and know that if you ball out and still get hit with political hurdles, someone might still speak truth anyway. What's next for Sanders? This is a fork in the road. The Browns realize there's a problem and pivot, giving Sanders first team reps and letting football decide the outcome. That would be redemption for them. Or they double down on favoritism, keep pushing Gabriel or Flacco, and allow Sanders to become another regret on Cleveland highlight reel. Either way, the spotlight's on now, and there's no escaping it. Joe Flacco's bombshell. Summary. Flacco confirmed an uneven distribution of reps in practice. He backed Haslam's claim they didn't want Sanders, with implications that the competition was pre-scripted. Sanders' lack of reps and visibility reveals systematic bias, not chance. Gabriel is the heir apparent in name, not performance. Sanders could be the best passer in camp, but he's not being tested fairly. The Browns' culture now demands scrutiny, not just hope. This isn't a quarterback story. It's a culture story. Sanders' talent is obvious. His demeanor as ready as any veteran. His leadership is raw and respected. And yet the Browns handcuff him because they're afraid of their own staff seeing what's right in front of them. If Cleveland wants to flip the narrative, they must start with truth. Open the reps. Let performance drive decisions. Admit when they were wrong. This is where we split. The Browns can either step into accountability or double down on damage control. Because Flacco has cleared the Marlboro smokescreen. The competition isn't real. It's been scripted behind closed doors. Now the spotlight is on those decisions, and more than ever before, Cleveland can't hide from scrutiny. One, it's no longer about policy. It's about transparency. The practice plan isn't some sacred scroll. It's a playbook, and it's supposed to serve football, not politics. But what most teams don't admit is how often quarterback reps are dictated by preferred seedings, not performance on the field. Flacco's insight shattered the fantasy. Haslam and staff planned to sideline a dynamic rookie in favor of lesser talent. Now the Browns are cornered. They can't claim process anymore. They've exposed the filter behind who gets opportunities. Two, behind every QB script is a culture problem. The quarterback room is a microcosm of the franchise. Who gets reps, who gets respect, who gets featured on team content. It all sends signals. Sanders being iced from team hype videos is more than oversight. It's omission when a player who's outperforming the roster isn't even visible in team media. It's not just injustice. It's strategy. It's narrative engineering. Because in today's NFL, every 15-second clip is communication. By excluding Sanders from the spotlight, the Browns inadvertently admit they're hiding something. 3. It's one thing to sabotage opportunities. It's another to force someone else's narrative. Dillon Gabriel and Joe Flacco are both respectable quarterbacks. Neither, however, are shaking the ceiling like Sanders is. Yet the reps, the content, the storyline, they skew decidedly in their favor. And when you watch the story unfold beyond a locker room, you realize the real people running quarterback decisions aren't coaches or evaluators. They're narrative engineers. Ownership frames a message, and players sometimes become stories instead of decision makers. Flacco blowing the doors off that script is what made this story explode. For Shedeur's silence doesn't mean submission. Sanders didn't complain. He didn't leak. He played. He absorbed. He led. To stay centered in that chaos speaks to his mindset. He's the kind of player who knows you don't create opportunity. You respond to it. But every day is an accumulation. If Flacco's saying it is one shot, Sanders staying silent is another. That's leadership by example. The Browns still haven't adequately responded to this, publicly or internally. That silence is louder than any excuse. 5. This could be the turning point in NFL player empowerment. We're watching the beginning of a potential shift. Players have always talked quietly behind the scenes, but rarely have we gotten that perspective on the record from someone of Flacco's stature in the position room. That opens doors. Does every player now risk tanking their opportunity by speaking up? Not necessarily. But this moment